renewables are kind of like soldiers who only show up to battles that you have already won, and they just show up to bask in the glory of having won the battle. But like if you actually need them in a tough war, they're all missing in action. So, at the time when, it's usually these headlines come out always every May. Every May, there's a headline about, Germany or one of these renewable countries has on this day achieved 80% or 70% or 90% of their energy consumption coming from renewables, and it's always sometime in May. It's always a Sunday in May, and imagine Sunday, balmy Sunday in May in Germany. Everybody's just gone through a long, cruel German winter, and finally the weather is nice. Everybody's out. It's a Sunday, so all the factories are off, all the businesses are off, and you have very little amount of energy, and then they turn down significantly the capacity from the fossil fuel plants or the nuclear plants or the hydroelectric plants, the reliable sources, and they switch up the and they run on wind. But of course, that's no use in August when it's boiling hot and there's no breeze and solar can't catch up. And then it's also no use in the middle of winter when it's freezing cold and solar obviously is zero, and wind, sometimes it blows, sometimes it doesn't. Who knows? It can be cold without the wind blowing. And with all of that, you end up with, I think the fundamental problem, as I see it, is that you have to build reliable capacity. And when I say reliable, I mean fossil fuels or nuclear or hydroelectric that can reliably be there at any point in time to provide your maximum demand. Imagine the worst case scenario: everybody's got their heater on and their TV on, and everything is at its maximum. You need to have that reliable capacity built out from a reliable source, and then because at any point in time, solar and wind can both be zero. It could be nighttime and it could be not windy, and so both could be zero. And so therefore, you're going to need all that maximum capacity to come from somewhere that's not dependent on the weather, that essentially is from the era after humans triumphed against the elements, something from the time when we found those energy sources that don't care about the position of the sun and the moon. You just click a switch and the thing starts working. So you have to have that capacity. So if you're building a nuclear or gas or a coal plant that's going to provide that reliable maximum capacity, then effectively the renewable green stuff, the solar and the wind, is superfluous. Sure, they'll reduce the capacity, they'll reduce your consumption of fuel to some extent, because when the wind is blowing and when the sun is shining, you'll consume a little bit less fuel. But practically speaking, from listening to the experience of actual engineers in Britain and Germany, from what I understand, the cost of dialing up and down the fossil fuel generators or the nuclear generators or the all of these other reliable forms of generation, the cost of dialing it up and down in order to accommodate, oh, well, the wind is blowing, let's turn down the diesel, or, the sun is shining, let's turn down the gas. The cost of managing, increasing the load based on that, rather than the predictable general schedule with which they usually operate, where they know, there's a peak at this time and there's an increase at that time. The cost of trying to manage it based on the weather ends up being more expensive than the reduction in the fuel. And it increases maintenance costs significantly, increases fuel consumption, and reduces life expectancy of the plants, because you're essentially misusing them. It's just like a bad driver who's abusing their car, because these things weren't made to run according to the wind. They're post-industrial technology, not pre-industrial technology. They're made to work in any condition. Admirably, these power plants have performed in the Saudi desert and in the Canadian Arctic. They've given people 24/7 electricity in all the most extreme conditions. But I don't think they can handle, I don't think it looks like it, looking at what's happening in places like Texas and California and Britain and Germany, it doesn't look like they can handle having these renewables being stuck on the grid because of all the problems that are happening.